last week I did a video where I read a whole bunch of poems out of this book. Well, not a whole bunch, 3 actually. And there are 2 left that I didn't get to read to you, and I am going to read them to you today. And both of these poems are about when love isn't really love. And this is a topic that I like exploring more of. I think love poems are pretty common, and I like exploring this, I guess common, I don't want to say common fallacy, but these traps that we fall into when trying to find love, these mistakes that we make that cause relationships to not work. It's part of why I'm so interested in psychology and people and, the relationships and psychology of that. Therapy being my field, but wanting to work that into some of my poetry as well. I've done other poems in the past, like When Not to Say I Love You was, I think, one of the biggest pieces for me that pointed in this direction of the sort of awkward, everyday bits of relationships and the hard stuff, not just falling deeply in love with someone and then breaking up with them because they're a jerk, which is what you see a lot in media, in movies and television. It's so rare to see a complex view of a relationship. So, the first poem I'm going to read is Laugh Track Love. I long for the days when dating was a hobby, when relationships were like book clubs that involved more wine than literature, and everyone pretended your papier-mâché pieces were true craftsmanship. You could hold us together with whatever sticky substance, but really, I was a mess. But I could afford it back then. I could fuck things up and be fine. No hangover, no cleanup. It was empty, but easy. Fun in the teenage sense, where you're still blaming somebody else for all of your problems, but you still get to have big kid fun. The kind they show you on sitcoms, where they're far enough in for character development, but don't want anyone to settle down yet. So let's pretend we're 2 New Yorkers on a dirty couch. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, and then never again. This is a part of relationships that, dating, I guess, more so than relationships, that I feel like doesn't get talked about beyond this sort of sitcom idea, like having characters enter relationships for drama and then creating whatever reasons the writers can come up with to break them up. I've seen it in How I Met Your Mother, in Scrubs, in Friends, in whatever other sitcoms you can think of, where there's a group of friends, usually New Yorkers, and of course they end up with each other, but before they end up with each other, they have to date everyone else first. And so you get a string of men and women who pass into and then out of the series, sometimes for 1 episode at a time, sometimes for whole seasons or multiple seasons. But it's actually a thing a lot of people experience in life, sort of. Sometimes you go on a date with one person once, and then that's it. That's, your entire dating history. You spend your life with that person, and sometimes you go on one date and it's awful and you never want to see them again. And then you go on the next date and it's 2 or 3 dates, and then you stay friends, but it doesn't work out. And then, in a sense it's realistic, even though, of course, in this case they're doing it for ratings and for plot stuff. But anyway, it's not a part of life that's romanticized beyond the falling in love and then falling out of love. There's this interesting time period in a lot of people's lives, particularly around college, early early 20s when this is happening a lot, especially with online dating, allowing you to go on more and more dates with various people. Again, you could meet someone who you have no mutual friends with, go on one date, and then never see them again, and that's normal, you know? So, anyway, um, I'm not actually at a point in my life where I'm doing that. I've mentioned in a previous video that I'm engaged, so that's kind of a thing that is done and over with. But I still find it fascinating from a psychological, sociological standpoint, and from a writing standpoint. It is an important part of a lot of people's lived experiences. So, the next poem is called Galatea. I always longed for a place with a view. We had that in common. Your view was me. Eyes bright like city lights. You made mountains out of my molehills, eyes tracing my curves like a landscaper. You told me at night you could see me glow. The way you consumed me, body and spirit, I was never sure if I wanted to be your muse or your masterpiece. Now you can sketch out my foliage, finger paint my nipples, drink my curves in watercolor, if you must. But I've been sitting up here on this pedestal far too long. The view is getting stale. This one is a little more about, it says directly, being placed on a pedestal, and how that feels more like being a painting than a person. Feels like someone has created a version of you that they like and they're going to worship it. And that might not feel like you. Like imagine it's a painter who did very unrealistic stuff, Picasso. Imagine if you were a model for Picasso and you expected a realistic painting and you saw his cubist stuff. And, suddenly this is what he's saying is you. He's saying, I love your eyes. They're so, sideways. Something that's just totally not a trait of yours. Or, you could say your eyes are so big and he's drawn them that big. It's like, well, yes, but that's not me. You're not seeing me, you're seeing some version of me that you've created. And I think we all have these two-dimensional versions of ourselves that many people see. For some, it's the shy, bookish girl. For some, it's the, depending on context too. I have been the shy, bookish girl. I've also been the outspoken intellectual. I've been the massive dork. I've been the girl who wants to be friends with everyone, and I've been the lone wolf. And it depends on context. And I know there are people out there who see me as that, as smart and kind, and that's all they know about me, and they love it, and they don't know the real me. And part of this is kind of what my relationship with you guys look like. Like, as hard as I try, I don't know that you guys will ever know the real me, and there's an extent to which who knows if anyone knows the real version of anyone. You don't know what's going on in my head, just as I don't know what's going on in yours. But when you love someone, I think then it matters to try and get as close as you can. To not blind yourself with the painting that you created, and to put it down and try and see who they really are. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Pretty short video, I know, but I'll see you guys next time.